headlights on my Beetle are absolutely crap. So let's see if we can improve the situation. Driving at night in this car is not all that pleasant, simply because of the fact that when you've got oncoming traffic with xenon and LED headlights, you can see nothing. And to be honest with you, it creates a little bit of an unsafe situation. The headlights are just not that great. And to be honest with you, I know in the past they have been pretty good in this car. They've got round reflectors, H4 bulbs, and to be honest, that should be a recipe for decent headlights. So let's see if we can get to the bottom of why they're not working very well. Obviously, I've got the headlamp unit pulled out and turned on there now, and I've got my multimeter connected. And there is the reason why the headlights aren't working properly. 11.2 volts. Now when you say a car has a 12 volt electrical system, that's 12 volts resting from the battery. The battery charges at about 14.5 volts, up to about 14.5. So anywhere between 13 and 14 volts at the headlights is really what you want to be seeing. 11.2 is absolutely rubbish. So we need to try and improve on that situation. So what we need to do is start chasing back the wiring in the car and trying to find out where the shortcoming is, and start cleaning some connections and addressing some issues. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to measure the alternator and make sure that that's charging correctly. So we've got a negative over there and a positive there on the main terminal on the alternator. And there we go, we're getting 4.25 volts. Obviously you need to measure that when the engine is running. Now, clearly if you can get your hands on a colour wiring diagram, so much the better. There are plenty of them available. I think there's a lot of them on the Samba and that as well. But for the purposes of this exercise, I don't have a colour printer at home. And I know I had a colour printout of the wiring diagram in A3, but God knows where it's gone. Anyway, we'll make do with this. So let's have a look and see what we're dealing with. So let's just have a look at the legend here. And we can see that L2 is the right-hand headlight unit. Now there's two filaments in it. There's the dipped beam and main beam. The dipped beam, as we found, is yellow and black, so that's going to come up here and is going to join into fuse number S4. So that is our next connection point. So that's where we need to actually check our voltage then. And then beyond that, we're going to go into the yellow and we're going to go up into this relay here, which is J. So let's have a look. Headlight dimmer and flasher unit is what J is. So there's going to be a bit of jiggery pokery with relays, but we won't pull the relay or do anything with that until we've actually made sure that there's power going to the relay, because there's no point in making work for ourselves. Right, with the engine running and the lights on, we are going to measure the power at fuse S4, and it is pants. Okay, so next is S10, and I'll show you the reason we're measuring S10 now. So 12 and a quarter volts there, so that's not terrible. It's a hell of a lot better than what we're seeing here. So that's both headlights are both seeing the same voltage. So that's our side light bulbs. So our side lights are seeing the decent voltage, but there's a current, there's a voltage drop probably because of the current, but that needs to be addressed by having decent connections. Haha, I found my colour diagram. Here we go. It's a bit easier now. So let's see, where are we? We are at these lads here. So L2, headlight right. Okay, so we've got it. We've measured S4, which is where the stripy fella comes through, and then the yellow one goes up into the headlight relay. Okay, but what I want to do is I want to measure what power we're getting at the light switch here first of all. So this is the power supply here on this connection here in the relay. So 56B, and there is a black and white striped wire coming from this lad. Now S10 we're getting 12.2 volts, which is much more reasonable than 11.2, and I'd say if I give the throttle a blip it would actually come up a bit more. But what I want to do is I want to see if we're getting all the power we need through the light switch. So there are two supplies through into here. There's a red one here which comes from S8, and that is going to go down to our main beams. And then the main beams are not actually that bad in this car, to be honest with you, but they're still not great. But I would say this is where we're looking, and I imagine the light switch is actually probably causing some of the problems. So let's pull out the fascia panel and have a look and see what power we're getting there. Just looking at the state of these wires going onto this thing, I would say we might be barking up the right tree here, because some of these are pretty crusty. What I'm doing now is measuring the power coming into the switch on this spade here, which is the yellow and black wire, and we're getting, even without the engine running, 12.17 volts, which is pretty good actually. So that's fairly close to battery voltage. Now let's just turn on the switch and see what sort of drop we get on that. So get it again, and look, there's a huge voltage drop on that, so that's down to 10.4 volts. Right, so what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to disconnect those wires, and I'm actually going to clean all of the connections there, and we're going to get them, we're going to see if we can get it a bit better than the way it is. So what I've done here is take out this little rocker off the switch, and I've sprayed some of this stuff in it. Now, this is expensive, but it is really, really good stuff, and I use it for when I'm fixing hi-fi amps and stuff like that as well. So we're going to do the little resistor in there as well, and get down inside the slots where the switch actually goes. And we're going to just get the switch refitted here, the rocker refitted, and we're going to cycle the switch a few times, and that should clean everything up. I've also cleaned off the terminals on the far side as well, so I used a little brass wire brush with that. If you're feeling brave like I am, what you can also do is you can take the back off the switch, but just be careful. There could be little springs and stuff like that inside that'll go flying, so we're just going to be very careful taking the lid off that, and we're going to just actually clean the contacts inside directly. And there are our contacts, so let's just give them a wipe. It looks like the deoxit actually did wash a lot of crud off them already, so we can go a little bit further though. Okay, switch is back together and reinstalled, and yes, it was fiddly getting back together. There's a tiny little ball bearing in it. You really have to be careful you don't lose. So anyway, it's in, and let's get some voltage measurements, see how we're looking. Okay, so I am getting nearly 14 volts at that terminal there now with the engine running. So let's turn the lights on and see what we get. So that's back on there. 12.6 volts. Right, so now let's see what we're getting at the headlight unit. Hardly what I would call an improvement, but still very, very slight. Let's just blip the throttle and see what we get. Went up to 11.5 when I blipped the throttle. I couldn't film it, but anyway, still not good enough. So we need to look a bit further afield and see where else our voltage drop is coming from. At the fuse panel, we're seeing 11.6. Hang on, try and get a better connection. Yeah, 11.7, it's still rubbish. So even at the fuse panel, it's still crap. So there's no point in looking at the wiring between the headlight unit and the fuse panel until we actually address what the situation is at the between the fuse panel and the switches. So the next port of call will be the connections on the relay. So just looking here, that's the supply into the switch, which is, let's see, when we give it a little bit, about 12.7 volts, right? Which is not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. And we look at the output side of the switch that goes to the relay. Same. So that switch is bang on. Okay, so we don't need to worry about that. Incidentally, I measured all the outputs from the switch and they're all 12.7 volts, so they're all grand. Down on the fuse panel, I pulled out this relay here, which in my instance is the headlight relay. Yours might look different. A lot of them have metal cans actually. To be honest with you, this one replacing it. But anyway, what I've done is I took the cover off it, which just little clips on either side, and just sprayed the inside of it with deoxit. As I said, it looks like a new relay, so I don't imagine that's the problem. I've also sprayed the connections on the back of the fuse panel where this goes with deoxit as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back in again now, and we'll see if that has made any difference. Okay, so we've got decent voltage up here, okay, and it's coming down to the relay, which is a new relay. And it's coming out here on this side here, which goes down to this point here, and this is where our voltage drop is. So when we're measuring at S4, that's where we're getting 11.3 volts. We're getting 12.4 here, so we've got a volts drop between here and here. So what I need to now do is I need to take the fuse panel down, and I need to have a look at this yellow wire here and see if it's frayed or broken or something like that, because I would imagine that's where our problem is. Alright, so here is the yellow wire in question, and the black and white one that's coming down from the switch. Okay, so we need to find out what voltage we're seeing on this and what voltage we're seeing on this, and see if there's a difference between the two. And then after that, we need to actually have a look and see what we're getting at the fuse holder again, which is over. It's just about, you're just about able to get your finger onto it. It's quite tricky. But look, let's get the multimeter out again. All right, so let's have a look and see. So there's our yellow wire, 11.78 there, 11.9 on the black and white one. Just give the throttle a blip. Might be that the alternator's not excited. 11.93, 12.07. So there's a drop between the switch. This is okay. So 12.1 at best on the black and white wire. Now, if we check that black and white wire over at the switch, let's see what we're getting. 12.1. Oh, I hope I'm not after disturbing a wire from the alternator or something like that. You got to be careful doing this kind of stuff, folks, because what happened is I actually ended up disconnecting a wire inside the fuse panel that stopped everything. So it took me a while to find out where the hell that was. But anyway, we got there in the end. It was a red wire that was feeding fuse 10. But if you look here now, we've got 11.15 volts at that fuse there, right? Now, if I go around here, 11.5, it's still not great, but it's like it's a half a volt drop nearly. So we need to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that yellow wire out and we're going to have a look at it and see what's going on with it and clean that up anyway. But the fact that half the spade terminal is missing is certainly not going to help the situation, so let's get a new spade terminal on there first of all. 10.73 volts, it's gotten worse if anything. Now granted, that's probably because the engine's idling slower, so the alternator's not putting as much voltage out, but that's still crap. Right, I'm going to blip the throttle here now and see what we get up to. $11.6. Not great, is it? Right, so where does all this leave us? Well, we have a couple of options really. One is we can live with it. It doesn't really appeal to me all that much. Two, there are LED headlight upgrade kits available and I don't really like the look of them, to be honest with you. They really do change the look of the car and the fronts in a way I don't really like. So I don't think I'll go down that route. And number three is to install a relay, and that would be under the bonnet and would be supplying the full power from the battery to the headlights, and the switch inside the car would only be just doing the switching. And yeah, I think I will probably go down that route. I mean, the fourth option is to go pulling wires out of the car left, right and centre and trying to replace 50-year-old wiring, and realistically, beyond what I've done today, there's not a huge amount I can do. Now, it does get up to about 11.7, 11.8, and yeah, I mean, look, if it wasn't your daily, you could live with it. If you weren't using it at night a lot, you could live with it. But for me, I like to be able to use this car in all sort of conditions, and if that means driving it in and out of work and coming home on a night shift in the mornings and all the cars are coming the opposite direction and they're dazzling me, I'd like to have decent enough headlights. So I think what I will do is I'll pick up a relay in the motor factors and I will do a bit of creative wiring and get as much voltage as I can to the headlight bulbs, and that will sort that out. Now, you can do it with two relays, one for the dip beam and one for the main beams, and that will really give you some good headlights, and I think that's probably what I will end up doing. Well, I'm driving into work now in the morning and obviously it's dark out, and I have to say my efforts were not in vain. The lights are actually not bad. They're a lot better than they were before, so clearly it did make a difference what I was doing, even if the voltage wasn't exactly saying so. But yeah, I can see where I'm going now, which is great. That said, I do have another trick up my sleeve, so stay tuned and I'll show you. So yeah, just by cleaning the contacts and everything and the switches and that kind of thing, the headlights certainly have improved. And to be honest with you, you could probably live with them to a point. The other thing you could maybe do is upgrade from the H5 bulbs in this to H4 bulbs. Now, the H5s are halogens. They're not the old style incandescent bulbs. They're the halogen equivalents of the H5 bulb. But yeah, I want to be able to use this car at night in the winter or autumn and spring at very least anyway. So I need to do a little bit better. And they say if you can't beat them, join them. Now, I'm fully sure that this kit is going to bring me some criticism, but you know what? As I said, if you can't beat them, join them. Xenon HID upgrade kit. Now, here's the thing. I did say earlier on in this video that I didn't want to change the look of the car in the front, but these are bulbs to go in the existing fittings. They're not all of these fittings with the lenses and all that carry on it. They take the place of a H4 bulb. And some of you are probably wondering at this point, didn't you just say that these take H5 bulbs, not H4? Yeah, I did say that, but you can get adapters and you can also adapt the fittings. So that's what we're going to do. I actually have adapters ordered, so we'll be fitting them, but we have a bit of wiring to do first and foremost. This is a pretty comprehensive kit that you get. Obviously, it's not specific for Beetles, but it comes with the instructions, comes with a wiring harness with relay, and the lamps are in here, so we'll put them aside. I'll have a look at them in a minute. And the ballasts are in here. So we actually, let's have a look at the bulbs first, actually. And here are the H4 equivalent bulbs, and you will see here, now this is one point of concern for me, is this, the depth of this. I'm hoping that there's enough room in the inner wing to be able to fit them. Look, we'll deal with that in a second. H4 LEDs and tungsten bulbs have two filaments, or two elements, or whatever you want to say. This has one, and what happens is there is a shutter that moves up and down on a solenoid, and that is what gives you your low and high beams. I don't want to touch the glass, but that's what happens. First things first, let's get the headlight out and have a look and see what we're dealing with. I'm hoping there's enough space for that bulb, because otherwise we're going to have to start getting a bit, well, let's just say creative, which I don't really want to do, but creative or destructive depending on what way you look at it. So, put the screw in there. Could be a bit tight. Let's just take this out first of all anyway. And that is the H5 bulb. You'll see the base is slightly different on this than it is on the H4. So it's got kind of a thicker base on it. The H4 has sort of three little prongs on it that's essentially located. So anyway, that's the old bulb removed. And the hilarious thing about it is this bulb is actually now blowing. It blew in the space of time that I made the video. So maybe getting the extra volt or so is enough to say, no, I'm not playing anymore. But yeah, I can see the old filament actually rolling around inside. So either way, I would have had to replace this bulb. So anyway, get that out of the way. So we need to do a trial fitting here. So first things first, let's take the one of the things that alarmed me a little bit here as well, actually, first of all, was this here. I didn't realise the disc came off, so I was wondering how I was actually going to be able to get the retaining ring over the bulb. But fortunately enough, it comes apart like that. So I'm going to just put that carefully down there, and that means that we can now put our shield in here, and we'll see if we can get a bulb retaining ring. Oh, that wire just broke. Well, another thing to be repaired. Get a bulb retaining ring in there. Now, let's see. I have to proceed with caution here now, because things can very easily get broken if you're rough with stuff. Now, the H4 bulb will fit in the housing here to a point, but it doesn't fit properly, if you know what I mean. Well, it took an awful lot of faffing around to try and get this in, but the bulb holder is actually in there now. So the only thing I need to figure out now is why the ring is just not quite sitting down far enough to actually contact the side light bulb, which I obviously need to sort out too. So we're going to do that, and I'll do that off camera. I don't know, it's probably just a case of bending the tabs up a little bit more or something. But just briefly, what I'll do is I'll show you now what I did, gingerly taking this off. I had to shorten that spring because it wouldn't go down all the way. And the two tabs on the bottom of the bulb holder, I just bent them over. And that allows the bulb holder piece to sit in here in two notches, which I filed in this. So that's actually letting that sit in properly now. Well, when I say properly, I mean it's as good as I can get it. But it's not bad, and the thing about it is this ring here is the perfect size for this, and that's actually holding it all central. So what I probably need to do is just actually bend these two tabs down here down a little bit, and that will allow this to sit down a little bit further. So I'm going to do that, and once we have that sorted out, I'll do the other side, and then we can start worrying about the rest of the wiring, because obviously getting the bulbs in is the first thing we need to kind of straighten out, because kind of important. So I actually went about this a different way. It turned out I actually had a set of H4 headlights out of a Golf, and I was able to use the bulb holder assembly, which is essentially this part here, on the H5 bulbs. So what I did was I kind of modified them slightly and fitted this to this, and I was able to put the bulbs in with the kind of proper sort of bale retaining wires there, which are the bulbs are fine. They're perfect in there now. So I'm really happy with how that's come out. So now that we've got that done, let's have a look at the wiring harness. So just for the purposes of this exercise, I have everything laid out on the bench here, okay? Now these are gas discharge lamps, okay? So the 12-year-old in you is probably sniggering at the name of them, but they are xenon lamps, okay? Which means that they need a ballast, because otherwise you would have the things would just go bang. So that's what these lads are here. So we have this essentially limits the current going to the bulb. It'd be the same as like the likes of a sodium bulb or something like that as well. So what we need to do is put these in the circuit along with the bulbs. So let's do some wiring, and what I want to do is actually set it up so the lights actually come on the bench here. Don't see why not. Right, so we have a positive supply here to a relay, which is great because it means that we're actually going to be adding a relay as part of this whole project as well. And there's a ground on each end, and then each end also has this small terminal here. Now remember I told you that these have a solenoid inside them to basically pull back the shield on the bulb to give you the high beam. Well, that I imagine is what that's for there. So let's get everything hooked up first of all anyway. So we're going to take our ballast here, and we're going to plug the ballast into the lamps. So that's going to go like that, and this one is going to go like that. Okay, so that's that there, and we're going to take this one here, and this is going to go plug into this. Okay, and then we're going to need to supply power to this, and this is going to plug into our ballast. So this is going to be supplied to the ballast like so. So we're going to need to also supply power to this, and we're going to need to give this a ground. So we have two grounds, two positives, and then that one should light up, and I'm going to do the same with this lamp here as well. Incidentally, I bought this kit off LED Perf, which is a French company. I've actually bought a couple of things off them before. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but I found that the quality of the stuff that they sell is actually very good, and it's predictable. Rather than buying stuff, crappy stuff off China, at least this way we know we're getting something decent, and that's really what why I went to a reputable source. The LED kit that I installed in the Toyota Auris is actually from them as well, and I've done a Xenon conversion from them as well. So yeah, generally very impressed with the stuff that they sell. So again, the quality is here in this as well. You can see it for yourselves. So what we need to do now is we need to get a couple of terminals and start doing some wiring, and hopefully I have a battery around with a bit of power in it. Right, so I have everything rigged up, so let's apply some power and see what happens. Oh, that's after coming off. Hang on now. There we go. Right, it's a bit bogey, but it should work. Hey! You get that whine from the inverter, the ballast. It's an electronic ballast. Oh, they are bright. And they're still warming up. So that's dipped beam. And you wouldn't want to be looking at them head on, but the idea is that these headlights have to be correctly adjusted, and that is something that we will be doing. So if I have to bring them down to the a garage that has the correct headlight beam alignment gear, then fair enough, that's what we'll do. So that's a dip beam. So now if I take the power off that and supply it to the other one, you'll hear the click of the solenoids. You should anyway. Oh, there's my multimeter. Oh. There we go. You hear a click at the solenoids. High intensity discharge lives up to its name. That is some seriously high intensity light. God almighty. Fantastic. Right, that's enough of that. Let's get into the car. Once I can see, that is. The plan for the permanent live supply that's going to go to the relay box on this kit is that I'm going to take it from the buzz bar that's permanently live on the fuse panel, which goes between fuses number 9 and 10. So I'm hoping there's a free spade terminal. If there is, we'll take it off that and we'll route it in under the the bonnet, and we'll get that'll be our permanent live. And then the plug that's on the harness here plugs into one of the existing headlight bulb sockets, and you only need to use one of the two. So what we'll do is we'll fish the wiring from in behind the bulb cluster and run it back to underneath the bonnet, and we'll be able to plug that all in there. So we'll do that on the one on the right, because I plan to put the box, the relay and all that sort of stuff over on the right, just for simplicity's sake, because it's the way the wiring is actually routed in the car. So now that we're at the wiring, I had to do a bit of thinking as to how I was actually going to route things. And this big bloody thing on the wiring is very annoying. I think it's a suppressor or something like that. I imagine that's what it is. But yeah, it was not going to pass through the inner wing. So what I've done is I've opened out the hole there so that it is square and will allow me to pass this through. So what I want to do is send the wires through, and this bloody yoke here, send that through as well. But keep the ballast in underneath the bonnet, and we'll attach that to the inner wing somehow. So that keeps that out of the weather, and it means then that we can bring our wiring for the headlamp up through here and in through the hole here, which brings it squarely where we need it to be. And I can actually even just cable tie that up there somehow. But that gives us our wiring here. Now, the only other annoying thing here, and there's quite a bit involved in this project, is I also have to get, where are the wires for these things here, into the headlamp units as well. And that's also annoying, because that means that there is a separate supply that has to go through the inner wing and out to the headlamp. Now, I should be able to pass them through the same hole, but I would have liked that if all the wiring for the ballast, that if all the wiring was dealt with by the ballast, but unfortunately that's not the way it is. So we'll just have to figure out how we're going to get that through to there as well. So let's do a bit of thinking. Well, here is the situation as it stands at the moment. That is the existing wiring for the headlights in the car. So I've had to cut the headlight bulb holder off because it would not pass through the holes. And I didn't want to have to make any holes bigger than they already were. And anyway, there was already splices in it. So I just separated out the splices. We can remake them. Not a big problem. The relay box is now screwed onto it's sharing the bracket for the brake booster here. There's a remote brake servo in this car actually, and the grounding wire is on that stud as well. So that's all done. You'll also see then our positive supply to the relay is gone off that direction, and that's where we want it. And we have our headlight bulb connector piece down here, and that will plug into the harness. Now, the other thing as well is we have to run some wiring for side light bulbs. I've ordered new side light bulb holders. They're a little rubber push-in kind of thing, and I'm going to just put them in and rerun the existing wiring, and that'll be fine. So we will still have side lights, and then we need to route this bundle of joy over to the other side of the car. So that's not a major issue, but it can be done and has to be done. So there's only, unfortunately, it's still got this little do for here on it, and it's got the grounding lead, but it hasn't got a positive or a relay box or any of that jazz. So a little bit simpler, obviously. But I wanted to get the harder side done first of all, and obviously our wiring is there, and this little lad here was just long enough to pass through. I don't like the design of that, to be honest with you. It should have been maybe incorporated in with the ballast or something like that. And maybe they just couldn't do it for whatever reason. But in any case, we will be passing the wiring for the headlight bulbs in through to the inner wing here, tidying it all up and wrapping it in probably self-amalgamating tape or something like that as well, just to keep it safe and secure and keep water off it as much as possible. I need to get some sort of a grommet there for that and paint it up and everything as well. So we'll figure all that out. Eagle-eyed amongst you will now notice that there are wires on both sides of the car in the headlight bulbs, and I've actually got everything pretty much wired up now. So there is a positive supply to this, which is the main supply to the relay, and that's coming from the back of fuse number 9 on the fuse panel. That's basically where the main supply comes into the fuse panel. So we're using that, and it should be a good supply. It's a good heavy wire going to it from the battery, and that's going to go down into the relay. And we've also got the connector on for the headlight socket, which is there basically. So that's all done, and you'll see I like those kind of solder sleeves. I used one there as well. They do make a very good connection. Now, I haven't got the side lights connected in because the bulbs haven't arrived yet, but I'll do that off camera at a later stage. That's the positive supply, and we'll just use the negative supply here. So I'll just run a new wire for that. And over here we have similar situation going on. So our grounding point is going up to here. There's our ballast over there, and the wiring is going through a square hole that I've made down behind the washer bottle. Obviously I took the washer bottle out to do it, so that's done. And the only thing that has annoyed me is the way that goes there. It's not ideal, to be honest with you. I mean, even if they just made the wires a little bit longer, it would have been a lot better. To be honest with you, I'd probably just drop them a little email just to tell them that maybe it's something they want to revise in their kit. If you don't tell them, how are they going to know? Because they don't install them. So anyway, yeah, look, simple little fix on their part, I suppose. Just make the wires longer. What I'll do is I'll throw some cable ties here and there and get the wiring tidied up and get everything finished off camera. But the next thing I want to do is to install the headlight units themselves. So there are 3 wires to connect. Yeah, costume change again. I do these things over a period of days. So yeah, there is the let's see which one goes where. This one goes here. Male to female, obviously. It's going to go like that. This one is going to go on here, like that. And then our little fiddly connection is going to go up here, and we'll reach around there. And that goes on there. As I said, not ideal, but it's what we have to work with. So, and put that on there. Now I'll put the screw back in afterwards once I know everything's working. Do the same on the other side now. Alright, so let's see if they work. Oh, that looks promising. They actually do look the part as well, I have to say. Just close the bonnet there now, just to get the overall look. Can't even hear the noise of the ballasts there now. I'm going to lower the car down off the jack as well, and I'm going to have a look and see how the headlight beam is looking as well. I just have the car jacked up so that I can get in with the wheel arch a little bit easier. So now let's see if the full beams work. Oh yes they do. The spotlight's working. Yeah. You can barely even see the spotlights now with the Xenons. Move them out like that. Happy days. I'm really happy with that. That looks the business. Actually looks really smart as well. I don't subscribe to the theory that you absolutely have to go all the way down this route in order to get decent headlights in your car. There are many alternatives available. To be honest with you, there are decent H4 bulbs available in that as well that I probably could have gone with and would have got me some of the way there. But the fact that this came with a relay kit and I was probably going to put a relay in anyway kind of really appealed to me. And the fact that it does really make the car look a lot better. And they're not dazzling unless you catch them head on, like, you know, I mean, they're grand. That really appealed to me, so that's why I went down this route. As I said, cleaning your connections and getting all your switches and everything like that right, and making sure that everything in the car is the way it's supposed to be, and that you're getting the correct voltage at the alternator and at the battery as well. That's where you start with all of this, and then you can trace the road further down and get to the end point, which where I stopped is here, but you can stop further back as well. Slight change of plan here, folks. I'm actually installing the Hella headlights instead of these other ones, which are absolute dirt. And the reason they're absolute dirt is because if you look at the wall there, you can see there's just a scattered beam of light and it's all over the place. Whereas if you look at the right hand side there, you can just see the line that's cast by the other ones. These aftermarket ones are muck, so there's no point in installing them. They're going to just blind everybody. I mean, even standing here, I'm not getting blinded by the one on the left. The one on the right is quite dazzling, and it is not my intention to go around blinding everybody else on the road, much as other cars seem to do that to me all the time. So that to me looks right. That one there is crap and I'm going to change it out. So it's changing to the single screw headlights. So what I've actually done is, because these are GF4P wings, I've actually had to make little brackets that screw into the wings, just 3 points, and that's all screwed in there nicely now. And I can use my the rings, the chrome rings off the other headlights around them. So that will do the trick nicely. So I just have to do the other side, and then I'm going to get the side light bulbs installed because they should be arriving today. And then that means that the headlights are pretty much sorted. I don't know why my passenger side indicators also stopped working as well. So I'm just having a look at that. It seems it has lost its ground. So another thing to fix. So I'm going to crack on here. So we have 3 brackets actually screwed into the inside of the headlight bowl, and the inner ring of this headlight unit here is actually going to screw onto them. So you can see one of the screw holes there, and you'll also see I now have the side light bulb in place as well, so that's all wired up. I just got a kind of a rubber bulb holder there that'll do the trick nicely, and put some sleeving over the wiring and everything to protect it. So that's all good. So I'm going to run that in under the bonnet and connect it onto the existing side light wiring of the car and get a ground off the inner wing as well, and that'll do the job nicely. There's plenty of earthing points in there that I can use. And I obviously need to investigate why the earthing point is gone for the indicator, which we'll do now in a minute too. So let's get that headlight in as well, and we'll see how we're looking. Now, I've made the wires particularly long for the side light because obviously you need to find out exactly where we're going to be routing them to, and I don't want to end up finding myself short of wire when the time comes to do that. So, but that's pretty decent at that now. Let's plug our bulb in. That's that all good now. Put the wiring in. We're just using 3 screws into Tinnerman nuts. Those little clip nut type things, that's what they're actually called, as Tinnerman nuts. So there's one there. Now, I will probably end up replacing this particular headlight bulb because the reflector is not the best on it, but the one on the other side is fine. But for the time being, I'd say they're still going to be vastly better than the ones that were on before. So that's in now. So let's turn on the headlights and see how they're looking. Well, I'm going to be honest, that is 100 times better than the way it was before. They are much, much better, those headlights. So now, I just need to get the side light wiring done on this side, so I can pop this one back out again. Just to put the bulb holder in, and then we will be able to try and get some level of adjustment on them. You can see the beam on the wall there now. It's like, obviously, as I said, I need to line the car up with something that where I can actually set up that beam alignment correctly. But yeah, you can see there, like, even if you look in the glass of the headlights, it's not just a full beam. There's definitely a cut-off point on that. So that's great. Really happy with that now. Battery's getting a bit low, so that's why I have the engine running. But now you can see the side lights are on. So now let's make sure that all the other lights are working. Let's dip beams. Hopefully. And yeah, they're coming up. Right hand indicator. Left hand indicator. Spotlights aren't working. I'll have a look at that. And let's try our high beams. Hey. So the high beam spotlights are working. The low beam, the orange ones, are not. They're like fog lights. Right, so I now can see that I need to lower the beam on the right hand headlight just a little bit. That's pretty good at that. You take my word for it, it's behind you. So now what I want to do is put the chrome rings back on the headlights. So these are the ones with the three screw holes. So normally you'd have the screws that would adjust the headlight are on the outside, but in this they're actually on the inside. And then there's the retaining screw at the bottom. You can still use these. And there we have it. The job is now complete, and this time I'm happy with the end result. So now we're going to leave it there. And yeah, going to take it out and just get the headlight beam alignment properly sorted out. But it's fairly close to the mark. You can see over on the wall there, there's a nice definitive line across the wall as to where the light actually breaks up. And that's exactly what I was looking for. The kit, I have to say, is actually very good. All the bits are there to do it, really. I mean, the only thing is that obviously because of the fact that the design of the Beetle means the headlight bolts are in the inner wings instead of under the bonnet where an engine would be, and you'd have a battery supply. You know, look, there's no kit that's going to cater for absolutely every car under the sun. And I also found that those light fittings that I had in the car before were absolute shit. These are the old headlight units. I took the rings off them, obviously, but like, I mean, these are not old. They're reproduction. I actually only got them recently, but look at how the seal is all perished and that glass just popped off. So you can see where it says MF in the middle. I'll let you figure out what MF stands for. But if you see those lights, chuck them in the skip and go and get yourself a pair of hella lights. Time and time again I find that there's parts that are manufactured for classic cars that are manufactured just to fill a gap, and like for cars that are only used going to shows and at the weekends and stuff like that, and they're not up to the standard that you need to actually keep a car on the road and reliable and in daily use. And the thing is, the standard I want this car at is a standard where I can use it in the depths of winter if I want to. Like the heaters work, the lights are going to be good now, the battery is charging well, all the wiring is in good order, as it is for a 50-year-old car. I mean, look, but it's safe. Things like, well, the only thing I need to do now is I need to change the bulb on that fog light down there. It's I had a spare bulb, it actually just needed one. But that one I think is actually a 24 volt bulb or something like that. Anyway, I'll put another one into it now in the next couple of days. But the car is now another stage on, and I've got decent lighting, so really, really happy with that. So yeah, I hope you got a bit from this video, and please comment below. Let me know your observations or thoughts or whatever on it. This has definitely turned out to be a much bigger video than I expected it to be, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed it all the same. Please hit the subscribe button before you go, and I'll catch you in a future video. Thanks very much for watching.